Laura. Hi, everyone. My name is Cleve Freeman. I am a counselor at Foothill College. I am also the Transfer Center Director, and I have a lot of answers to questions that are related to transfer. A lot about what I'm going to talk about today is more about the transfer process as soon as you begin your community college pathway. I am also going to let you know when there's something that is Foothill College specific versus California community colleges in general. There are several community colleges in the area. There is Foothill College, where I work, and there is De Anza College, and we're in the same district. And then there's West Valley, and there's Kenyatta College, College of San Mateo, San Jose City College, Mission College. So there are many California community colleges. There are 116, and those are the ones that are kind of close to Foothill. So I don't know if you guys have an option to chat, but if while I'm speaking, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I want to make sure that the time that I spend talking is what you want to hear, as opposed to me just saying what I think you want to hear. So as I'm presenting, feel free to put questions in the chat, and I will try to address them either during my presentation or after. So I'm going to share my screen now. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, this is my high school presentation cover photo. Cleve Freeman, Transit Center Director and Counselor. So what I always tell students, even though there is a transfer center at every California community college, there are counselors in the counseling center, and the counselors in the counseling center and the counselors in the transfer center, we all do the exact same thing. We all provide transfer counseling. We all provide personal counseling, academic counseling, career counseling. We all do the same thing. So don't feel like you can only get help from the transfer counselor when you have questions about transfer. All counselors do the exact same thing. An example of personal counseling is when students are struggling to succeed in college because of extenuating life circumstances, whether it's on campus or off campus. So how to help students deal with what's going on in their personal lives that is stopping them from being a successful student. And we want to try to help you have those conversations and make sure to send you to the right resources that we think might help you to be a successful student. Career counseling, I don't know what job I want in the future. I don't know what major to choose. I don't know what career I want to pursue. So career counseling is part of that, helping students figure out what major, what career, what job that they might be interested in. Academic and transfer counseling is that's more focused on, okay, I want to go to this university for this major, or I want to apply to these universities for these majors. How can I be a competitive applicant? And so that's also what all counselors do, not just the transfer counselor. All counselors do the same thing. So there are 116 California community colleges. I mentioned a few earlier. Out of the 116 California community colleges, 3 are on the quarter system, and the other 113 are on the semester system, just like your high school. So for example, your high school probably has fall semester and spring semester, which equals 1 year. And then you have the summer term right after spring. So the semester system usually is 16 or 17 weeks the first semester, 16 or 17 weeks the second semester, and that equals 1 year. 2 semesters equals 1 year. In the quarter system, which it's only 3 California community colleges, it's Foothill College, De Anza College, and Lake Tahoe Community College. We're the only 3 that are on the quarter system. And the quarter system is fall, winter, spring. First 12 weeks is fall, second 12 week is winter, third 12 weeks is spring, fall, winter, spring. So you will have 16 or 17 weeks of work from a semester system pushed into 12 weeks of a quarter system. So that's the difference between Foothill College, De Anza College, and Lake Tahoe Community College. Those are the differences between semester versus quarter. That's one of the main differences. I always tell students, I always recommend choose a college that you want to go to, somewhere where you feel like it's a good fit for you. Maybe visit a few California community colleges, or if you have no choice, go to the one that's the closest to you. But if possible, kind of figure out, do I feel comfortable here? Do I like it here? Go to the student activities office, go to the outreach office of these community colleges. Maybe, then you can ask questions like, what is it like? What do students like about your campus? What do students not like about your campus? It's okay to ask questions like that. Okay, now I'll talk about the UC system. There are 9 UCs in California. Technically, there are 10 UCs, but the 10th UC is a medical school. So really, there are only 9 UCs that community college students can apply to. There are 9 UCs: UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC San Diego, UC Riverside, UC Irvine, UC Santa Cruz, UC Merced, UC Davis, UC San Diego. 9. I might have repeated UC San Diego twice. UC Santa Barbara, maybe that's the one I missed. So there are 9 UCs. UCs are traditionally the research institution. Okay, so the UCs are research institutions, and sometimes they get contracts from the government or from the military to help create something or build something. So the UCs are research institutions. The CSU system, there are 23 CSUs. I'm not going to list all of them, but there are 23 CSUs. The ones that are closest to Foothill are San Jose State, CSU East Bay, and San Francisco State. If we go out a little further, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, Sacramento State, Sonoma State, CSU Monterey Bay. So there are 23 CSUs. The CSU system is they're more of a hands-on kind of practical majors. So I always use business as an example. If you're going to major in business at a CSU, you will be learning how to do human resources, how to own your own business or run your own business, how to be an entrepreneur, how to do accounting, how to do marketing. So those are very specific hands-on type of majors. And that's what the CSU is about. They're not research institutions. They're not really doing research for government or military. They're kind of like trying to help students get their degree that they can just use for something practical. So that's one of the main criteria of a CSU. It doesn't mean that all their majors are to do something practical. It's just that's kind of the theme of the CSU system. And then there are 100 plus California private universities. There are many private universities. The ones that are closest to Foothill are Stanford University, maybe Menlo College, Santa Clara University. But there are 100 plus. There are many California private universities. So they are different from UC and CSU and the California community colleges. Those 3 are public, and the California private universities are definitely private. And then outside of that, there are hundreds of out-of-state and private universities nationwide. There are hundreds of out-of-state and private universities nationwide. NYU, Harvard, I don't know, Miami, University of Miami, University of Michigan. So there are hundreds of out-of-state and private universities. Oftentimes, students want to know, like, well, what's the advantage of attending a community college? Sometimes, depending who people are and how they think. Sometimes I meet parents or students that they say, "Oh, we don't want our kids going to a community college," or the student will say, "I don't want to go to a community college. I want to go straight to the university." And sometimes there's kind of a negative connotation with that. And my perspective, and I guess I have a bias because I'm a counselor at a community college, but my perspective is that I think it's a great opportunity to go to a community college. I went to a community college, and I'm proud of it. Um, I think there are many advantages. For me, I didn't want to move out of my house. I stayed home and I took the bus to the community college. I went to College of San Mateo, and I took the bus there every day. I went to school and then I came home. I had a part-time job, you know. So I felt comfortable. I wasn't ready to move out yet. I wasn't ready to be independent. Also, attending community college allowed me to apply for financial aid, and my tuition was covered. I was given money for my day-to-day expenses. So yeah, I'm getting a university education like at a fraction of the cost, and I still had really good instructors. Like, to this day, I'm friends with my counselor from College of San Mateo. So I had really good instructors, counselors. I can almost say that they're almost like my second family. So yeah, I really think community college, it's affordable. It was a way for me to stay home if I wasn't ready to leave yet. Um, uh, another possible reason for students wanting to go to community college is if you don't know your major yet. I really didn't know my major. I didn't know what I wanted to major in. I didn't know what university I wanted to go to. So it was a great place for me to take career counseling classes to figure out like what kind of major do I want to do? What classes should I be taking to prepare to transfer to a university? I was part of a program called EOPS, Extended Opportunity Programs and Services, where they helped pay for my books, and they made sure that I had a designated counselor to make sure I stayed on track. Um, if you attend a California community college, there is a database where you can look at the classes you've taken at the community college and find out how they transfer to the UC system or the CSU system. This database doesn't have it. It's not for private schools. It's only for California community colleges courses that transfer to UCs and CSUs for specific majors. Like, this database is really helpful in trying to figure out what classes you need to take. Um, I'm not really good at with numbers, but generally speaking, the UC and CSU system prefer to choose a California community college student than a high school student, because usually the student has been in the community college, is more mature and ready to, when they're already kind of college ready when they get to the university. So a lot of UCs and CSUs, they generally take a slightly higher percentage of California community college students than high school students. The numbers are really different because there are, thousands of high school students versus California community college students. But generally speaking, even though the proportion is very different, like, they would take 51% California community college student versus 49% of high school students. Even though the numbers are very different, the percentage of community college students is always slightly higher than the percentage of high school students that they admit. One of the popular questions, so this is my questions section, and it looks like there's a question here. So maybe, and I'm getting close to that section. Okay. So yeah, that's funny. The question I'm being asked is kind of right here. So students, do they transfer in 2 years? I always say 2 to 3 years. It's possible to transfer in 2 years. And I think that usually is that really proactive student that is trying to like, I want to leave in 2 years. I know what major I want. I know what university I want to go to. I'm ready. I want to transfer as soon as possible. And maybe their major is something that doesn't require science or math. So they're able to transfer within 2 years. Uh, but typically it takes 2 to 3 years, especially for those students that are applying for engineering or chemistry or biology or physics or math. Usually because of all the science classes and math classes they have to take, usually they're at a community college for 3 years. Uh, One of the benefits of being at a community college for 3 years is that it gives you an opportunity to do extracurricular activities or volunteer at internships or uh, uh, excuse me, volunteer or go to internships to really figure out, is this what I want to do? It also gives the opportunity to go to special programs or study abroad programs where you're actually doing what you want and what you want to major in. So universities like to see this when you fill out your applications. So if you take 2 years to transfer and you're just focusing on, I got to go to school full time, and you're not doing extracurricular activities, your transfer application will look kind of weak. So 2 to 3 years is pretty consistent. Uh, it's it's pretty common, but it is possible to transfer in 2 years. So let me go to the first question here before I go to my next point. Okay. What I don't attend Cal Poly slow, but wouldn't make it right now at graduation. Okay. Okay, so I think the first question is asking, so I'll talk about transfer admission guarantees, but the second part is if the student doesn't get admitted, so the question is, uh, what if the student wants to go to a CSU right now, but can't make it at the graduation? Uh, can they transfer after 2 years or 1 year? So you have to be at a community college for at least 2 years to finish your 90 quarter units. 90 quarter units is the same as 60 semester units. So if you go to one of the 113 semester schools, you have to complete 60 semester units before you can transfer. If you go to community college like Foothill or De Anza, which is on the quarter system, you have to complete 90 quarter units. But 60 semester units is the same as, it's also equal to 90 quarter units. The classes at a semester school are usually 3 units. The classes at a quarter school are usually 4 or 5 units. So the 60 semester is the same as 90 quarter. So you would have to finish 90 quarter units, which usually takes students about 2 years. If you're planning to apply to a UC or a CSU. If you're planning to apply to a private school, yes, you can transfer within 1 year. There's no rule about how many units you have to have uh, if you want to transfer within 1 year for private schools or out of state schools. But for UCs and CSUs, you must have 90 quarter units before you transfer. What is the difference between applying as a transfer student and applying as a college now high school student has a community college credits to transfer? uh, the transfer student and the college now student is the same student. So as long as you finish 90 quarter units from Foothill or 60 semester units from a semester college, you're eligible to apply and transfer. Uh, and it's important that you apply 1 year in advance for UCs and CSUs. So if you know you just need this many units, which it's an amount of units that you can finish within 1 year, that means it's time to apply. Not only do you have to finish a certain amount of units, you also have to take major requirements. So you kind of have to know your major right now that you're in high school. You kind of have to kind of figure that out, or maybe in your first year at community college, try to figure it out. Because once you know what your major is, then you know which classes you need to take to transfer to UC or CSU. Somebody else is asking, what if I don't have a high school diploma? The UC and CSU system do not require a high school diploma to apply to as a transfer student. However, we strongly recommend that you have your high school diploma. That's actually my second point here, because it's necessary if you're trying to apply for financial aid. So it's strongly recommend high school diploma. But it's not required to apply to transfer to a UC or CSU as a transfer student. If anyone has AP scores or advanced placement scores, as long as it's a score of 3, 4, or 5, you will get credit towards transfer to UC or CSU with AP scores. However, it's very important that you meet with a community college counselor to find out how you wish to apply those advanced placement scores, because oftentimes those advanced placement scores will transfer for credit, but they do not always replace something that's required for the major. So for example, if you took an AP exam of calculus AB and you received a score of 3, and then you come to Foothill or any California community college and you say, I want to take math 1B. I want to skip math 1A and go straight to math 1B because I have an AP score of 3. So I already passed math 1A. I want to go to math 1B. We see students like this all the time, and we strongly recommend that they take math 1A at Foothill and not skip math 1A, because each UC may or may not accept that AP score for a major requirement. So if your major is math and UC Berkeley requires math 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and you skip math 1A at Foothill because of your AP score, UC Berkeley has a chart that will tell you, because you got a score of 3, we're not accepting your AP score as fulfilling the major requirement. Now, if you have a score of 5, maybe they will, but not all UCs have the same exact AP chart. They use the AP scores differently at each UC. Okay, and I hope I'm answering your questions as I'm presenting here. If I miss anything, please let me know. Okay, so here are the CSU. So if you want to get a guaranteed admission to the CSU system, notice I didn't say a specific CSU. I said if you want guaranteed admission to the CSU system, you complete an associate's degree for transfer. If you complete an associate's degree for transfer, you get a guaranteed admission to the CSU system, but not the school of your choice. They might say, hey, you were denied admission to the CSU that you applied to, but because you finished an associate's degree for transfer, here are 3 or 4 CSUs that you can choose from that will accept you. An example of what those 3 or 4 schools might be CSU Bakersfield, CSU Fresno, CSU San Marcos. So it'll be maybe something that's out there, not like the common schools that students mostly apply to. Okay, so guaranteed admission to the CSU system if you complete an associate's degree for transfer. Please keep in mind as you're going to California community colleges that the number one thing that you should focus on is assist.org. Assist.org tells you what major courses you must take for each individual university you're applying to. And then if you have time, space, and money, then say, you know what, by the way, I'm going to also complete an associate's degree for transfer. Oftentimes we meet students that they're completing an associate's degree for transfer and they say, okay, I'm ready to apply to the university. I'm completing my associate's degree for transfer. And then we say, what university are you applying to? Maybe San Diego State. Well, San Diego State wants you to take this class, this class. Did you take that? And they said, no, but I completed my associate's degree for transfer. So that's when they find out, uh-oh, I'm not competitive for San Diego State because I didn't take what assist.org said. So that's just an example. The UC system has something called the transfer admission guarantee, where you get admitted almost 100% as long as you follow certain rules for these UCs. The only schools that don't participate in TAG are UC Berkeley, UCLA, and UC San Diego. Will UC schools still accept the credits if I take a course series for at Foothill and Physics 4 BCD at De Anza? So we strongly recommend do not mix a course sequence between Foothill and De Anza, or between West Valley and De Anza, or Foothill and Kenyatta, or Foothill and Mission. Please do not mix course sequences. Assist.org is what we use to see if there's exact equivalence or not between course sequences between different schools. But once students start doing that, universities even say on most of their majors must take sequence at one college. So please do not mix sequences with different schools. Um, if you're taking physics 4A at Foothill and you plan to take physics 4B, CD at De Anza, please meet with a Foothill counselor so we can verify if it's even going to be an exact match or not. Usually calculus, chemistry, biology, physics, those are the main sequences. Please complete the course sequence at one school. Foothill and De Anza are not the same college. Our sequences don't match for biology and I believe physics, biology and calculus. And so biology and calculus are the ones that don't match with Foothill and De Anza. So we always tell students, please complete your sequence at one school. So yeah, so there are the UC transfer admission guarantee. Berkeley, UCLA, and UC San Diego are the only three that don't follow the tag, but anyone else can, and all the other UCs for a majority of majors, if you follow certain rules, you will be admitted almost 100%. The reason why I say almost 100% is because after the student signs that tag, they think, oh, I'm going to be admitted anyway, so I could just get C's the rest of the time. That is not true. Once you sign that tag, you gotta do due diligence and do your work and make sure you finish classes and get a good GPA still. If you sign a tag with one UC, because you can only sign it with one UC, and you decide not to go there because you're admitted somewhere else, that's fine. So you're not tied to the contract. There's also a guaranteed admission to HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities. And so if you finish your associate degree for transfer, you can get guaranteed admission to over 30 HBCUs. UC Berkeley, UCLA, and UC San Diego are not part of the tag program because they already get so many applications. So they don't feel like they need this because they get a lot of applications already. I think that's the reason. I could be wrong. Western Undergraduate Exchange, that's a consortium of universities on the West Coast. If you go from California to Oregon to the university, or California to Washington, or California to Arizona, they charge you non-resident fees, which are usually almost double what you pay in California universities. And if that university is part of this Western Undergraduate Exchange, you will get a discounted rate when you go to their school in another state. So they won't charge you the full non-resident fees. They'll give you a discounted tuition fee. Honors Institute at Foothill College, we have something where if you take honors classes at Foothill, you can be part of a UCLA TAP program, UCLA TAP program, Transfer Alliance program, where it's not a guaranteed admission, but you get some kind of like they review your application first. You get priority when they review your application. And then transfer admission agreements. I don't know which are the local community colleges that have it, but Foothill has it. You can get almost 100% guaranteed admission to Santa Clara University as long as you follow certain rules. And I believe that's my last slide. So if anyone has any questions, you feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. And if I didn't answer the questions correctly earlier, please let me know and I'll try to answer it again. Nice to see everyone. I'm glad everyone's here to hear about transfer. Here, let me share my screen one more time. I'll share something else. This is the Foothill College Transfer Center website. We have a class that we teach every fall and every spring, how to be a competitive transfer applicant. It's one unit, and it's Tuesday and Thursday from 10 to 10:50, and you're on Zoom for 6 weeks. So that's a really good class to take if you're wanting to know, how to be a competitive transfer applicant. And if you're looking for my information, there's the front desk phone number and email. I will also put my personal email in the chat. So I don't know if I will share my screen, but let's see. There's another question here. Okay. The last point of Santa Clara University, we have a contract with them. If students follow certain rules, they get almost 100% admission to Santa Clara University. The honors, if you take a certain number of honors classes, it's 23 units to be specific, and you are applying to UCLA, because you completed the honors program at Foothill College, your application will be one of the first applications that they review before they look at any other applicants. And you have a slightly higher chance of being admitted if you're part of the honors program through Foothill and you want to be part of the UCLA TAP program. Someone was asking, is there do I recommend a specific community college? I just recommend the one that's convenient for you. Usually the way it works, if you go to a community college that's near the UC or CSU, usually that means you might have more priority to be admitted than someone that's not from the same city. Are the rules very different for universities that accept transfers? Can you satisfy rules? You can satisfy major requirements for multiple schools. If you say my major is math and I'm applying to 9 UCs, then fortunately, all math is the same everywhere. So it's the same math class almost for each UC. But if you choose one major for this university and another major for that university and a different major, that's when it starts accumulating and you have to take more classes. Honors, AP classes. Honors AP, no, it has to be the community college classes at Foothill to fulfill the 23 units. Have a question, we can talk or we can put it on the chat, whatever's comfortable for you. I like answering questions, so please don't be shy. I don't think you would take, I don't know if you want to apply to Stanford after 3 years, but the CSU and UC system, they have a set deadline for when you apply. The private schools, their deadlines are all over the place. So you just have to find out which private school you want to go to and go to their website to find out the deadlines. But the application is pretty straightforward. You fill out all your information. Yeah, you're welcome. You fill out all your information and you might have to write an essay. Yes, if a class is not available at Foothill, you can take it at De Anza. Just meet with the counselor to make sure that it's the right class. Yeah, average cost for community college units. I don't know the difference between semester and quarter, but I'd have to look for it, but it's generally 100, close to $100 for one unit. I can't remember the exact price right now, but let me see if I can find it. So full-time student for 1 year is approximately $1,200 a year for tuition. Does transfer pathway differ if you do 1 year at Foothill versus it's different because the private schools, they're the ones that accept the 1 year. The 2 year is mostly the UCs and CSUs. There's no way you can finish 90 quarter units in 1 year. That's unless you have a lot of AP scores, maybe. There is a website, like what statistics are the GPA for computer science in UC Camp. It's called transfer admission. Oh, UC Info Center. That's what it's called. If you Google UC Info Center, it will tell you statistics about UCs and major GPAs. Can a student transfer, graduate from the university college in 4 years as if started in freshman year? They could probably transfer within 4 years. They could probably graduate within 4 years if their major doesn't require so many major classes. Um, is there a moderator here? Oh, look, someone put a Deanza a fee. So I guess I'll stop recording.